Hey everybody, welcome back to Sports File 35-year reboot. This is episode number 4. Today we're going to be talking about the Broncos, kind of projecting around the draft. Over the last few weeks we've seen some noise come about, and then it's sort of gotten eerily quiet, which I think typically happens as we get close to 2 weeks out before the draft, and some of the big names that earlier made splashes at the combine, not necessarily are making that noise anymore. Also talk about the Denver Nuggets, the latest over the last couple of weeks here of what's been going on with them. We'll spend some time with some European soccer. I've had the opportunity, as we've talked about in previous, a big Tottenham fan. We'll talk about Tottenham, and then we'll also talk about kind of getting into the semifinals here, quarterfinals of the Champions League in soccer. And then kind of on our restaurant slash city recommendation, we will talk a little bit about Madrid, Spain. First up, the Denver Broncos. So when we think about the Denver Broncos and where they're kind of headed, there's a bunch of articles out here. If you look through, right on the Athletic by Nick Kosmider, great article today out as I record this on April 11th, kind of really talking about where it's sort of shaping up to. Right over the past few weeks, I think we spent a lot of time thinking about, who do the Broncos potentially go after? We thought at one point there was a lot of hype that we got previously about J.J. McCarthy, for example. Is J.J. McCarthy still in the plans? It seems like his stock value has plummeted somewhat, which is there's so many smoke screens that come up with the NFL draft. I think he showed up at the NFL combines and really seemed to make a big splash with players and coaches and the scouts. Interviews went incredibly well from everything you read. Jim Harbaugh has been out there, obviously as coach at Michigan, who's now with the Los Angeles Chargers. Completely hypes him up, tells him this is a guy that's ready to go. He's the best quarterback out there. He should be the number one quarterback selected. I think that got some momentum. Great combine, great set of interviews, like I was saying. Showed true leadership, was essentially out there after doing his drills, high-fiving people, which caused some concerns because Caleb Williams wasn't doing that. And then Caleb Williams suddenly comes out and starts high-fiving people as well. But over the last few weeks, you're really seeing kind of the pullback naturally occur, right? As you get further distance from the NFL Combine and Pro Days, it really feels like it. And again, you have to read between the lines here. There's a lot of news out there, and then always think about who's the source, who's putting out the news, right? What does the team want out there? What's the smoke screen that they want out there? Broncos have gone really, really quiet. I mean, really quiet. We've seen a huge difference with Sean Payton at the helm. Started last year. It's pretty buttoned up. Not a lot of leaks coming out of there. I'd say the only leak they had, which we talked about previously over the last few episodes, was Russell Wilson. But we don't really have a clear direction. I think Sean Payton's stated goal is you've really got to love a quarterback. You've got to, if you love one, then you go all in. And it doesn't matter where you kind of select it. You kind of put your cards all in and you go up and get them. Haven't really heard too many leaks out there right now about it. I think the name that still pops up is Bo Nix, but then Bo Nix's stock collateral has sort of pulled back as well, right? They're saying, he grades out this article I was reading by Nick, who was quoting another guy, essentially saying, like, look, Bo Nix is grading out to a second, third round QB pick, right? JJ McCarthy is grading out to kind of first, second round pick, right? So that's telling you late first round, second round pick. So Broncos currently sit at the 12th pick. You do interestingly hear still more noise about Bo Nix. I think, especially in the local media here in Denver, would talk more about Bo Nix, and they feel like when you read about him, which we talked about, he's pro ready, 5 years experience, super ready to go, taking a ton of snaps, more snaps than any other quarterback in this year's draft class. The biggest question is, can you get him at 12, or could you possibly get him further down in the draft? If you're the Broncos, if you really do love Bo Nix, the argument is, do you try to move up to get him, or do you actually pull back and get him? And the thought right now is you could absolutely pull back and get him, maybe give up a 12 pick to someone down there and just try to move down the draft and get him maybe in the later round because when you start looking at who the Broncos have after them, as I'm scrolling through here, the Raiders probably definitely need some sort of a quarterback, but probably they would pass. I think the Saints are probably fine. The Colts don't need a quarterback. The Cardinals don't need a quarterback. Jaguars don't need a quarterback. The Bengals don't need a quarterback. The Rams don't need a quarterback. Steelers don't need a quarterback right away. They've got, with the trade of Russell Wilson, the Dolphins, and then et cetera, right? We're going to go through the list. So you could make the case of when you get to 12, maybe the best thing is not to necessarily take a quarterback at that position. Again, Sean Payton said if you really love quarterback, you trade up, you do everything in your power to get him. Give up picks if you think Drake May or Jaden Daniels is the answer, and that's the guy you want, then you absolutely go up and get him. But you could, when looking at this, there is going to be a run after the top three. I'm looking at a draft mock right now of Lance Zierlein from NFL Network, and he's essentially, or NFL.com rather, he's talking about, obviously Caleb Williams. This is his mock draft 3.0. You've got Caleb Williams going to the Bears at number one. The Commanders taking Jaden Daniels. He actually now has a trade. He has New England essentially moving back, and the New York Giants, stepping up and taking on Drake May. And that's more interesting because currently, with their quarterback situation there that they have, it's not his quarterback, right? Brian Dable. Like he was known as the guru for Josh Allen. Josh Allen's best years were with him. And the Giants, I think, are definitely in the market to potentially move off of the current quarterback and move on to a new one. And this would be a big get for the Giants to move up and get Drake May here. He has the Vikings. This one we've talked a little bit about. This makes just a ton of sense for the Vikings. They quietly went ahead and got another late round draft pick, so they have two picks in the current draft. They absolutely could trade with trade up to get into the fourth spot here, right? Give it up with the Arizona Cardinals, right? They don't need a quarterback. If the Vikings truly are in love with J.J. McCarthy, and they do need a quarterback, they're desperately in the need for a quarterback. They could move up here and grab J.J. McCarthy. Feels a little high. This mock draft was done a couple weeks ago at this point, but if you do love a quarterback, and the Vikings definitely, I think, need one, they would definitely move up here and grab it at this point. After that, you're done with the quarterbacks being drafted, and you're getting into stuff like the Los Angeles Chargers potentially being able to grab a Marvin Harrison Jr., a wide receiver, and suddenly, that the Chargers would just look incredible with the quarterback they've got now, and with Marvin Harrison adding on. That would just be a great get for them. You have the New England Patriots taking the wide receiver because the Patriots are just, of course, feels like they're completely lost, and and they'll probably grab a quarterback in one of the later rounds. Gone are the glory days of the Patriots. Going to be what they were, I think, when I was a kid. They could be the worst team in the league next year with the number one pick. Then you get a tackle, Joe Alt, best tackle out there, going to Tennessee. The Falcons taking Jared Verse. He's an edge rusher. You've got the Chicago Bears and taking another wide receiver. Remember, this wide receiver class is heavy, totally stacked. So you're going to see a ton of wide receivers come off the board here. He actually has the Jets getting, I think, at a steal, Brock Bowers. This guy is going to be an absolute stud at tight end. Um, phenomenal talent. I think someone like an Aaron Rodgers is going to absolutely love playing with it. You're going to look at a new retooled offense with the Jets. Typically doesn't like to throw to rookies, but I think Brock Bowers is a difference maker. Where when we talked previously about the Chargers with Justin Herbert adding Marvin Harrison Jr., they needed to respond with the trades that they made out of the wide receiver rank. So this is an absolute steal for them. Arizona goes defense in this projected draft because of the trade with Minnesota. They're now at the 11 pick. And they have an edge passer, Dallas Turner from Alabama, going here. This brings us to the Broncos. What do you do here? Do you love Bo Nix enough to say, yes, he's worth a 12th round pick? Or do you say he's not, we can get him later and you trade back? Or do you really try to get, and that's the other point here to notice too is the Broncos currently don't have a second round pick, so this would make a lot of sense for them trying to trade back and get another second round pick. Perhaps with that second round pick, right, they're able to reach up and get Bo Nix and an early second round pick, right? And then here, if they stay put, you would be looking at like Quinion Mitchell, a cornerback from Toledo, a senior. He's athletic, cover traits to start. He's early opposite Pro Bowl to start against with Pat Surtain on defense. Super interesting again, like we were saying. There's a bunch of different articles floating about. It feels like the Broncos might want to trade back. I think it's so hard to read right now with the Broncos. You really don't know where they're going to go. I wish this was so cut and dry. Like, yes, they're getting a quarterback. Um, it, I think truly, I don't think they're going to trade up. I don't think they're going to. They need to restock. They are in complete rebuild. They're in a tough position over the next year or so. Now, this year and then next year, I'm talking about when I say year, like next year as well. They need to get as much draft picks and get, really hit on those draft picks to make a move and improve quickly. I think we can all agree Jared Stidham probably isn't an answer here long term. I think we need to be prepared if the Broncos trades down or select someone like Bo Nix. Jared Stidham's going to be holding on to that spot at least for till probably Thanksgiving ish, right? But the Broncos may be looking at this and saying, you know what, we're not in love with a quarterback. We're not in love with a guy in this year's draft, and what we really need to do is be much more strategic. And maybe and in their heads, they're thinking, look, next year it's going to be part of a rebuild, which is i.e. not great. I think one projection I think I saw out of from Mike Kliss, trying to remember what the exact number is, but I think Las Vegas is putting the over under at 5.5 wins for the Broncos next year. That's the case. I think what you really try to do is get a bunch of draft picks this year, maybe move back. Maybe you do get Bo Nix in a second round. Maybe select the best player on the board, this cornerback out of Toledo. Solidify your defense. And then focus on next year's draft. It's not going to be as quarterback rich as what we saw this year, but perhaps there's a talent that's kind of in that Drake Mayish, Jaden Daniels. I think Caleb Williams is what everybody says at least is a generational talent when you think about like that's someone like Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, obviously, although it wasn't, it wasn't at that point, didn't have the hype clearly in the NFL draft when he went in the 6th round pick, or a Trevor Lawrence, someone generationally that, yes, you're going to do everything you can do. So it'll be super interesting to see what they do. If I was the Broncos, I would seriously consider trading this pick, trading back, getting a 2nd round pick. You could probably get a late round, 1st round pick here as well. So maybe you pick the best player on the board. Maybe you can get another defensive player or maybe an offensive lineman late in the 1st round, which they need help with as well. And then really maybe in the 2nd round pick, you do select at that point Bo Nix or the next player on the board. I think this team has a lot of needs now with everybody's left. I think you could get Bo Nix in an early 2nd round pick, and I think Sean Payton would be pretty happy with that. This guy's pro ready; he's ready to go. Jared Stidham, I think, is in a position where, if he's probably being honest with himself, yes, he wants to be a starter, but he's been playing for 5 years or so now at this point, 5-6 years, and he is what he is. He's a backup. He's a capable backup too. It's just I think he's going to kind of babysit that position until the Broncos are ready to finally hand it over to a Bo Nix, or do they wait? So interesting. We'll talk more about it as we're leading up to the NFL draft. We're only 2 weeks away, so more to come on that topic. Topic number 2, the Denver Broncos. So Denver Broncos, kind of interesting. I haven't done a pod here in a couple weeks. I got kind of really super busy, so there's been a little bit of a gap. Again, hope is that this is going to be a weekly event, but I really want to spend a little bit of time talking about the Denver Nuggets right now. They were in my opinion, super frustrating to watch. I think the Jamal Murray injury back on March 21st rather, really had an impact on the team. He's clearly their number two player, and the Nuggets kind of were just win one, lose one. It felt like, or win a couple, lose a couple. If we go through the stretch of when Jamal got hurt, they beat the New York Knicks pretty handily. Which was FYI great game to go to. Went to the game with my wife and two of my sons. One of my sons was home for spring break from college, and my youngest son's birthday was right around this time, and we went to the Nuggets game, and it was just it's just such a great environment. Basketball is just a great experience to watch in person. I think just the energy, the fun that the stadium brings, the announce team, the music, all of it is just great. Um, they roll versus the Knicks here. Then they roll March 24th against the Trailblazers. Then they beat the Grizzlies. So now we're at 3 games in a row where they've won, and then they start a little bit of a descent here. Lose a couple games in a row. They lose from the to the Suns, which was a little disappointing. But again, no Jamal Murray, and I think it's smart to protect him as much as possible. I think some of the local media was like, "Oh, this is super concerning. Jamal Murray's out for a full week now," and it's my view is, well, that's fine. If we've already clinched a playoff berth, right now we're at the top position in the Western. Minnesota's only a game back, but we hold a full game over them, and we have the easiest schedule out of the top three coming in. Um, they lose to the Suns, then they lose to the Timberwolves, and then they beat the Cavs pretty mightily by 29 points. They beat the Spurs, which was a great game for Wemby here. Super fun to see him come in and really put on a show. When we look at what Wemby can do, this young talent, it really is quite incredible what he does. You look at it, it was 34 minutes, 15 rebounds, 8 assists, 23 points in that game. Then they go on and they start their little. They've got the Spurs where they beat. Then the Clippers beat them in a very close game back on April 5th. Nuggets come back as predicted here. I mean, they just absolutely roll over the Atlanta Hawks. They end up beating them by 32. And then last night they beat the Utah Jazz pretty convincingly. um, we're able to just contributing across the board. Jokic doing what he does, just a machine. 34 minutes, 13 rebounds, 7 assists, 28 points. Murray 28 points, 4 assists, 2 rebounds, and then Porter Jr. is able to contribute 12 points. Gordon was out for this game, and you had Christian Brown contributing 11 points. Um, just real good game all around. I think the Nuggets are positioning themselves, like I was saying, when we look at the standings right now, they're at the top spot. They're going to be, and my guess is they hold on to that, I think, which is fantastic. They've already clinched their playoff division, haven't clinched, they have already clinched a playoff position, meaning they're in the playoffs, but they haven't clinched the division yet. I do think the Nuggets are in a really good position to really kind of bring this thing home. Their final couple games here, it looks like we got the Spurs coming up, and then we've got the Grizzlies, which will kind of round out the regular season, and we can go from there. Nuggets, I think the only thing probably to be a little bit concerned with. I mean, that was such a great win versus, beat the Timberwolves to get that number one seed. You're seeing these great teams like the Nuggets step up and really make a difference when it matters. And that's really what they did. Great teams do that. They know when it's time to go. And I think that the Nuggets know we're getting go time. It's playoff time. It was smart, in my opinion, to rest Jamal Murray. He probably could have came back sooner. My guess is if it was a playoff game, he would have been back a lot sooner. He was always at pre-game shoot around, doing great. I think the Nuggets are positioning themselves now, like I was saying, go time, and the go time is it's playoffs. It's time to take this thing serious and try to really get going here. Always tough to repeat, but I do still think the Denver Nuggets are the best team in the West, and I still think the Celtics. And it just feels like we're going to see a Nuggets Celtics NBA Finals. That's a prediction. A lot of hype around the Lakers. Lakers are just too old. I just don't. Playoffs are a little bit different. You're going to have a lot of games, a lot of minutes for LeBron. I think it just doesn't feel right. I think Minnesota is scary when you think about the Timberwolves kind of getting through and who they are right now. I think when we look at other teams within the West, Thunder are a scary good team as well. I think they may make a run. That wouldn't surprise me if it was a Nuggets Thunder rematch. If possible, they could make that up there. But seeing this hype over the Lakers and Warriors, I mean, these are playing teams at this point. They're currently ranked. I mean, they've clinched the playing position, right? You've got the Lakers at 9, Warriors 10, and I think if you listen to the national media, there's this, well, they've got LeBron James, or they've got Steph Curry for the Warriors, and we've got to respect these guys. These guys just don't have the talent. They're older. LeBron can't. I mean, we've seen the Nuggets literally just own the Lakers. They've definitely owned the Warriors. They own the Warriors when they've played them. Warriors are not who they are. Klay Thompson, not who he was. So I just don't see these Lakers or Warriors. I think it's fine to give them the respect they deserve, but we got to be honest here. The Nuggets are night and day versus these two teams. They're going to absolutely roll, I think, over both of these teams, and the Lakers will not get back to the Western Conference Finals like they did last year. I just can't see it. I just can't see the Lakers doing that. It's going to be another team, and it wouldn't surprise me if it was OKC. Topic number three, the Tottenham Hotspurs. Okay, so Tottenham, it's a little frustrating when I think about Tottenham and who they are right now and what they're trying to do. They've kind of gone on this little, what I would say, not the best streak here when they were going through and doing what they were doing. They really, really sort of, I felt like, you know, stated goal. If we take one step back, for those that are new to kind of European soccer. Tottenham Hotspurs are in the Premier League. That's the league of England. And then you've got the Champions League. So to define the Champions League, that's essentially it's an invite only. You have to qualify for the Champions League. And traditionally, how it works is you take the big leagues all through Europe, whether it's Premier League in England, whether it's La Liga in Spain, or it's the Bundesliga League in Germany. You've got League One, which is the French league. You take all of these various countries, and depending on how strong that conference is, you essentially get the top either two positions, so the people that come in first or second within their league, or first, second, third, and fourth. Get to qualify for Champions League. And the thought with Champions League, it's run by UEFA, the United, Soccer Federation. It's wonderful, awesome tournament, amazing tournament to watch. It's if you listen to teams and around Europe, this is what they're really gunning for because this league is essentially telling you, look, you're the champion of all of Europe, right? You've dethroned all of the best teams because when you think about it, you're getting all of the top teams qualify. So there are no kind of what you'd say bottom feeders or teams that are in danger of relegation. What's unique with soccer is you can be relegated. You can be in the Premier League one year, and if you fall in the bottom three, you're relegated to the next division below you, and then the top three teams from that league can move up, right? So it's super unique. But you're playing all the top clubs. So when we think about top clubs, this has always been like Arsenal as of late, Manchester City, Liverpool, within the Premier League. You've got Real Madrid, FC Barcelona. You got Napoli in the Italian league. You've got teams like PSG in the France league, right? AC Milan in the Italian league. So big name clubs. These clubs, there's really stated goal is yes, we want to win it, but we want to get into Champions League and win. And historically, the last few years, I would say, and I don't think this is a huge knock. There's always this thing. I think people are, Premier League is so hard. It's the best soccer league out there. Where I think people from Spain and La Liga would say, no, 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 I think we actually are, right? I think we actually are. And if you were to look at through the years of kind of who has won, the Champions League, as I'm quickly trying to pull this up here, the last few years, right? We're really seeing, I mean, dating back to 2013, you're seeing really a Spanish domination. 2013 had, Real Madrid winning, followed by Barcelona, followed by Real Madrid, Real Madrid, Real Madrid. So Real Madrid wins it 3 years in a row. You've got Liverpool that reaches up in 2018 and wins it. Back to Germany, great league as well. Bayern Munich, and Chelsea won it out of the blue, which was interesting, considering they're a middle of the pack player right now within the Premier League. Real Madrid back to Man City. So a little shift back and forth. Now we're going England, Germany, England, Spain, England, right? So when you think about it, that's really the stated goal for Tottenham. Is there's such a big club within the Premier League. If you look them up, their stadium, state of the art, gorgeous, biggest stadium in the Premier League by far right now. Newest stadium. They tore down their old one and built this one. They host NFL games, so if you think about it, they host at least two games every year over there. State of the art facility, like I was saying, grass underneath it. They've got this turf, and it's a crazy system where they roll out the grass, and then the AstroTurf comes up to the top. Tottenham, super well funded. They always feel like, and this is a complete homer take on my side, is they've got the weapons to do it. It just feels like we can never kind of beat when we need to win and we need to beat the right team. We can't do it. Like, for example, we can definitely beat Manchester City or Arsenal when it's needed, when we in the well not when it's needed, correction. When it's sort of like middle of the season, early in the season, we'll beat them, right? And then what do we always seem to do at Tottenham? We lose to the teams or we draw to the teams when you got to win and you should absolutely win. We don't, right? And that's always been the case over the last few years with Tottenham. It's why people get completely frustrated. We go back to April 2nd. Tottenham played West Ham. This was one. You got to win. You got to beat West Ham. You're at West Ham, but you got to win. This is a kind of a quote unquote London derby. And what that means is you've got two teams in London playing. And, Tottenham absolutely dominated that game and they walk away with a draw. Completely frustrated. Now, the old Tottenham followed up on April 7th where they're playing Nottingham Forest, who's a perennial. Are they going to get relegated? So they're at the bottom of the Premier League in standings in the bottom three, maybe the top, bottom four right now. This is one where you could see in the old days, they would absolutely lay a goose egg. They came out and just dominated that game from start to finish, which is exactly what they needed to do. They are chasing right now. They're in a very heated battle with Aston Villa for the fourth and final spot. Again, top four from Premier League get to Champions League. I think that's exactly what they're trying to do. We're not going to win a Premier League title. We will not win the cup this year. That's a totally contested battle right now with Arsenal, Liverpool, and Man City, all separated by 1 point right now. And then there's 10 points between Tottenham and Man City. And as a refresher for folks that are new to soccer, you get 3 points for a win, 1 point for a draw, and obviously 0 points for a loss. So we were able to move up with a tiebreaker right now. We're with Aston Villa, but we would get the tiebreaker and we'd be the fourth seed. But bam, Tottenham's got quite the stretch right coming in. They've got coming up on Saturday, April 13th here, this coming Saturday. They're away at Newcastle. Newcastle, tough team. They're currently ranked eighth. Last year, they were vying for the top four spots and they made it in. You've got them. Then you quickly pivot to you've got after Newcastle, then you're moving on to Arsenal. Good news, we're at home. Got to win this game. This is a big, big rivalry. This is a Tottenham Arsenal. This is the premier London derby for them. These two teams do not like each other, and they've got to win. Tottenham has to win to maintain that position. Arsenal has to win. They follow it up with Chelsea, which is kind of a middle of the tier, but again, it's at Chelsea. could be a little difficult. Then they quickly turn around and have to play Liverpool. Again, another top four team. Liverpool's got to win. Tottenham's got to win. This is a tough stretch. So you're going to have two away games, Chelsea and Liverpool. And the kicker is you're playing these within days. So you got May 2nd versus May 5th. Then we get a little bit of a break. We're going to be playing Burnley at home on May 11th. We'll then quickly have to turn around in 3 days and play Man City. Good news, that's at home. And then Sheffield United away to close out the Premier League on May 19th. I, it's a tough stretch. What are they going to do? This one's tough to predict. They're either going to end up coming in fourth or fifth, I think, this late in the year. I think if they could realistically, if we were to think they beat, let's say they beat Newcastle, that's a W, that's 3 points. Let's at home versus Arsenal, let's say they can really reach up and beat them, that's 3 points. I think that would pretty much solidify where they're going to be at. Then this could be a classic Tottenham. They should beat Chelsea, but they're on the road. They say they lose. That's 0 points. They're on the road at Liverpool. Let's say they lose. That's 0 points. Then they roll over Burnley. Let's say next match they're at home. Let's say they draw Man City because Man City's still going to be chasing. Best case is they probably draw if we're being realistic. Then you've got Sheffield United away, and they probably win there, which would shake up to hopefully, fingers crossed, Tottenham fans out there, that we're going to make it this year. This is why I think we stick by them. All the potential in the world. And I really, really do hope that they can make it up to the next spot. Let's go, Tottenham Hotspurs. Final topic today, kind of the current events slash, I've been doing a couple restaurants in the past where we've gone to, whether it's Satchel's or Easy Point, talked about how great they are in Denver. The great opportunity to be in Madrid, Spain this week. That's where I'm kind of recording the pod from this week. My son has been attending university out here for the year, studying abroad for the last year or so. Got out here in August. We've had a great opportunity and fortunate enough to visit him 3 times. It was talk about the last topic, Champions League. My friend, an old friend from high school from Massachusetts, is out here with her family, and her husband was like, "Would you guys ever want to see the Champions League game? Man City versus Real Madrid." I mean, these two teams are arguably the top two teams in the world right now. The answer was a resounding, yeah, we want to attend that game. It's being played at Real Madrid, which is an amazing stadium. San Bernardino out here. It's just, we've taken a tour of it. Just incredible stadium to see. And you want to see fans and rabid fans come to Madrid and look at the Real Madrid supporters. Um, eh, Naively thought, yeah, we'll get tickets, no problem. Her husband logged in at 3 o'clock in the morning, which was noon out here at the time, to get tickets, and instantly got, you were 52,000th in queue. So no chance of going to the game, which would have been an amazing experience. We watched it here, the other night. Just incredible atmosphere. European soccer really is the best. Sometimes I think I should dedicate the sports file to just talking about soccer. But I'm already struggling, to to get subscribers right now. And if you're listening, please like, subscribe, and comment. I'd really, really appreciate it. But this has been a fun hobby. But I just don't think I could continue talking about soccer all the time. Anyways, total digression here of where we were going. Um, Madrid, wonderful city. It's just, if you haven't had a chance to get over to Europe, Madrid's a wonderful city. The weather here has been absolutely beautiful. Today's going to be 79 degrees Fahrenheit. The trees out here have all bloomed. Springtime's in full effect. It's sunny. Restaurants, as I was saying to my son as we walk around, you just can't get over the amount of restaurants that this city is able to actually maintain, right? It is staggering, really. Huge city. I think the population is, I want to say 3 million, 3.5 million, right around there, off the top of my head. Great metro system to get around, great parts of the city. And there literally are restaurants on every single corner. I mean, and it's multiple restaurants. It just keeps going and going. and great food. Whether you want traditional Spanish cuisine, you can get great Italian, great kind of what you'd say, I guess, is like newish American type food. Think of like steak, stuff like that. Great seafood restaurants. Sushi out here is incredible. I've actually been to the restaurant. My son and I are going to go out tonight and go to back to this great place called Shishita Cafe. Favorite thing in the world is sushi. This place delivers. It's got completely unique kind of sushi rolls, which he loves. You're going to get just crazy concoctions that with some interesting Spanish flavors. Think about some of the peppers and the whatnot that are in there. So we'll be going there, and then we go to this other restaurant called Botanica, which is really in the heart of Madrid, in the center of Madrid. Great restaurant, kind of a really cool vibe inside. It's like when you think Botanica, it really is like a botanic garden almost in there. The ceiling is just covered in plants. They've got this great little porch area with tons of plants. Super unique, great food. They have this incredible. We've been there twice. This will be our third time over the last year going there. They have this incredible kind of filet-ish, beef tenderloin-ish dish where it's cut super thin and marinated in olive oil with some spices, and it's just when you get it, it just literally melts in your mouth. Madrid, great experience. Best part of the trip, as always, is visiting my son. That's it for the Sports File, a 35-year reboot. Please like, subscribe, comment, leave me some feedback, what topics you'd like to hear of. This feels like a long one, which it was. We're clocking in here at almost 37, 38 minutes. But we had a lot to talk about after I had to take a couple weeks off. Anyways, I'll talk to you all next week. Thanks.